Thanks for joining us on another episode of AgogeTV. I'm your host Phil Leonard. I'll be joined in just a second by my co-host Josh Summersgill, and our guest on today's podcast is Justin Lofranco. Justin does a great job of introducing himself. Basically, on today's podcast we have a awesome discussion about how CrossFit has changed in the last few weeks, all the goings on, how Justin found out about CrossFit's changing in a really unique way. We also had a ACE discussion around basically how to build a really good team and how they became the dominant force in the CrossFit media circle. So Justin being the owner of Morning Chalk Up, we talk a lot about what his team does and how they do such a good job of it. Really interesting to get his take on it and get his take on how Morning Chalk Up was built. I hope you all enjoyed today's show. Before we start today's show, I'd just like to thank our sponsor, X Endurance. I'd highly recommend checking out their Fuel 5 Plus for fast and extended training. Super important for CrossFit to have that little carbohydrate source in between workouts or during longer training sessions. Fuel 5 keeps your glycogen levels topped up, helping you maintain performance and delay the onset of muscle fatigue. Use the code AgogeTV20, wow that's hard to say, that's AgogeTV20 for 20% off at checkout. That's on xendurance.eu. Check them out, guys, and thank you very much to X Endurance for sponsoring today's show. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of AgogeTV. I'm your host, Phil Leonard.
And I'm your host, Josh Summersgill.
We have joining us on today's show, Justin Lofranco. He is the CEO and owner and founder, I believe, of the Morning Chalk Up. If you don't know who the Morning Chalk Up are at this point, you're bad.
If you're in the CrossFit world, that is. For anybody who listens that isn't from CrossFit,
what, you mean people aren't into CrossFit? So, Justin, thank you very much for joining us today. Can you just tell a little bit more about yourself and what you do in the wonderful world of Morning Chalk Up and CrossFit?
Yeah, so Morning Chalk Up, I started it about a little more than 4 years ago. I left a career in politics and just kind of decided I wanted to take some of the cool skills and lessons that I learned in that environment and apply it here to the news and media world. And so I started what really just started as a newsletter, went out to, only a couple hundred people every day, and then grew it from there a little bit. And it was just this way of aggregating everything going on all around this big, giant, like global community of CrossFit that was happening over in Europe, it was happening in Asia, it was happening in South America. And I wanted to see where everything was going on and all the major competitions and athletes and community-oriented news type pieces and put it into one place that you could read for 5-7 minutes a day.
Yeah.
And then we grew up a little bit more from there to being more news breaking and more video components and more live streaming and other things like that, to more of a multimedia company. And fast forward to, I guess last week, and I guess you'll see just, how much breaking news we can really get to. So,
So in fact, let me quickly ask you about last week, because I know we mentioned this before the start of the show. So you had been camping and didn't know anything about what was going on, and then basically landed back in the real world.
Yeah, so basically I left for a planned vacation. I was going to go climbing. I'm a mountaineer. I like to go climb mountains. So, think like guys with the spiky boots and the axes, kicking in the snow and all that fun stuff. And nice. I do that for vacation. So I went out to the Eastern Sierras with two of my climbing buddies. And basically Sunday morning, I was like, see ya, world. Guys, don't burn it down. That's what I told Joe. I'm like, just don't burn it down. You'll be great. Don't worry about it. It's, you focus on the news pieces that we have, and stay in those lanes and stuff.
And Greg Glassman did not get that message.
Well, and he was ready to do that and everything. And I come back. So we were climbing two mountains back to back, and they have like 20-mile approaches each. So like, what's that in kilometers? Geez, like 40 something kilometers. Each way, to climb these pieces because they're really deep into the mountain range. And so I came back on Wednesday to this small little town called Bishop, and I finally got reception. I'm like, whoa, lots of stuff's happened. I was like, all right, guys, like, look, let me draft up a statement. I want to make sure people understand where we're at. I haven't even had a chance to catch up. I called my girlfriend, and then I literally did this, and I was like, okay, I need to spend time like repacking and getting climbing gear ready for a more technical climb.
Yeah.
And so I said, all right, let's get that out there. I want to make sure people know where we stand. And then when we come back, we'll come up with more plans on how to cover and incorporate more diverse voices into storytelling that we're doing, and being the conduit for other people to see that stuff. Because we filter information and we can get it out to more people. So I said, let's do that. Cool.
Yeah.
Great job, Joe. We got it. Go back out, climbing another mountain in the middle of a snowstorm. And I come back down, and then all of a sudden I have my phone, and I'm getting texts from the who's who of CrossFit going, what's happening, or what's going on? I'm like, I don't know what's going on. What is going on? And I'm like driving down this mountain highway, and on my Jeep, you get like notifications when your phone pops up.
Yeah.
It's like boop, boop, boop. Like I'm like, athlete, organizer. I'm like, okay. Armin, okay. Tommy, wow, you guys really missed me. And then I found out some other things were going on, and I was like, holy moly. I'm like sitting down eating barbecue. My hands are sticky, and I'm like trying to catch up. You're eating from a trough all of a sudden, and the fire hose is coming at me. And then obviously that was a Saturday. And then we put out, we just found the tweet, saw Armin posted it and put it up there. And then that sort of moved the ball forward a little bit more. Reebok was exiting and sending statements. And so then it was just like a quick catch up to get everybody, caught up to speed, or myself as well as the team. And it was a developing story. It was a story that was moving very quickly, and there were new components to it. Not every day, but like every couple of hours, we were getting more information, or things were changing, or, resignations were happening in real time, and Nicole Carroll is a big name, but there was also, other names that weren't as popular or as well known as she is. And so we're just trying to catch up. And that was a heck of a way to come back from a vacation. But I guess I'm glad I had some peace and quiet and no cell phone reception. So
yeah, definitely. So really quick, I'm just going to break it down in as simpler terms as possible for those of people on our podcast that listen that don't understand. So obviously, if you don't know, and if you probably listen to our podcast, you probably do. But really quickly, basically, obviously, there was the whole George Floyd incident, and then off the back of that, there was some tweets from Greg Glassman, who's the owner of CrossFit, and then from the back of that, there was, and you can interpret Greg Glassman's tweets in your own way, and probably best that you do. And then basically a slew of people resigned from HQ, athletes pulled out of the games, and it's basically Justin's job to tell us what's going on with all that. So I don't envy you. And two people that are never going on holiday again is you and Josh, because
you have told me that more than once. Like, you are now no longer allowed to go on vacation. That is a no. That is a no and never. So I'm like, all right.
Agreed. So obviously that was the situation, and Justin comes back to chaos. So, and I think as well, just credit to the Morning Joker. It's where I follow all my news. It has been for a while. It's how I know what's going on. Either you guys are talking Elite Fitness, and obviously Tommy. So, that's how
I think it's hard for you guys as well, because obviously, like, on a much smaller scale, as gym owners, we're responsible for like getting information out to our gym and the members. And we've not got a big gym, and you guys are at like the top of the pyramid, relaying all this information to the whole CrossFit community. And you're in the firing line without wanting to be there.
That's so. I've learned a few lessons. Or I spent time when I worked in politics. I worked in media in the press shop, and so I was the guy kind of fielding traffic from reporters. And so now I'm on the opposite side, and I've learned some lessons from that time. And some things I've told staff before is number one, you're going to be a journalist. You don't always get to have friends, because sometimes at some point, if you're in the same industry, you might have to report on them, and it's a difficult thing to be in, and it's hard. It's not that you really can't have friends. It's that at some point, the lesson is you might be in a position where you have to report on something that, like think of Tommy for an example. Like, has consistently been in a position to report on things going on in HQ. It's a former employer, and he has friends that still work there, and understanding that a story that's inherently negative in nature is coming out that is going to hurt their future employment opportunities. And so you're like, whoa, okay, put that in perspective there. So like, we all work out in affiliates. Every one of us does, and so we came from affiliates. We work out at affiliates. I know some people right now during COVID are having a harder time doing that, but that's who we are. We are CrossFitters completely.
Yeah.
And we started there and we're still there. And so I think one of the roles of media is to add more transparency and add more truth to power and to do that. But that responsibility comes with sometimes having to tell a hard story. And so, yeah, we got a lot of flack. People were like, why are you being so negative against CrossFit? Why are you being so negative against Glassman? And I'm going like, why is Glassman out there saying that? Why isn't CrossFit out there doing it? What's going on here? Yeah. And there, we're seeing things from different sides. And you can't tell a story. You can't write a piece going, we're going to upset some people. Because if you do that, you're going to start deciding what is and what isn't news based off of what will be well received or what will not be well received, right? And that's a dangerous proposition ethically. And so, yeah, a lot of people are like, why are you guys destroying CrossFit? And I'm like, why is Greg Glassman destroying CrossFit? Like, don't look at me. I'm telling you what he did. It's up for you to decide. But it's true. And so it's a difficult position to be in. It's not that black and white either. And I'm painting it that way. It's not. But that's the decision. It's like, and it's tough on them. And they were like, we're burning the castle down. You're like, it's a part of the job, and is to tell the story and to make sure people know what it is. If you guys want to leave your affiliation based off what we reported, then okay. If you don't want to leave based off what we reported, then okay too. But we got to report it. We got to make sure people know that, and that's what people have asked and demanded of us, and that's what we've demanded of ourselves to do that for the community. So
yeah, and I think if people obviously unaffiliate, which obviously is totally up to them, off the back of what you said, you're just relaying information.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that that's not on you guys.
Yeah.
No, but we have a responsibility, to temper and to understand that what we write has an effect, right? Because what we do write has an effect, and that's the truth. And so, it comes with, there's a lot of voices in the back of the head saying, you have to be this and you have to figure out this and stuff like that. So, but in the end of the day, we endeavor to make sure that we report the news, and it's up to you to decide, like, if you want to affiliate, disaffiliate, being like, it'd be one thing if we editorialized to the point where we were talking about disaffiliation, be like, 1,250 affiliates made the right call and disaffiliated. That is an inherently biased piece of journalism here, and is basically us editorializing it. So, like, if we've done that, then I could certainly understand the criticism of people going, whoa, what are you doing there? That's not right. And you're like, okay, that's not right. You're right.
And the thing is, the same thing is as well, like, because you're like with what you're saying, I can't remember where to go with that now. Go on, Phil, jump in, I'll come back.
So one thing that I wanted to mention as well is, obviously, I went on probably pretty late. Like, we de-affiliated, it was our own reasons and our own choices. And again, like, we still don't know where and what we're going to look like coming out the other side of it. But our reasons for de-affiliating, and we've discussed it on other podcasts, were not just this one thing. There's been a multitude of different things over a long period of time. But then I was like, oh, Morning Chalk Up, they've got a survey. So I started scrolling and kept scrolling and was scrolling. I was like, holy shit. Like, I was like, I thought there was going to be like a couple of hundred people de-affiliating, and then more and more I got down. I was like, there's 2,000 people already gone before I got here. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, the number, we did some, I'm not sure how high the number climbed. We did some deduping and ensuring that, because people could put in duplicates and different two members from the gym, and we were taking care of that in, like, literally in real time. And we had people tasked just to, like, go through, sort the list, look, make sure nobody's on there 2 or 3 times or something like that. So I think the number sits right now cleaned up around like 13 something. I don't check it every single day. I do check it every day. I think we're at like 1380 the last time I looked at it, but we're regularly deduping to ensure that, we want to be reporting an accurate number, but it is self-reported. So people are coming through, and, we part of the gig. So
yeah, definitely. So something else I wanted to ask you about as well is, like, something that I like, you guys are always the first to report anything. And, like, how do you manage to stay? Yeah, I feel like you are anyway. Maybe the first place I see.
Close. Not
Like,
always close.
yeah,
We're close.
Phil only follows you guys on
Yeah,
Instagram.
there's no-
That's it. Nobody
Yeah,
else.
click follow us. We'll always be first. It's a good idea. I like this plan.
there's like so I used to follow CrossFit. No, I still follow CrossFit. And you guys, but no, like, so I always feel like you're one of the first places that come out with the news and very like consistent level. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like somebody else might be the first to come out with something. However, like you're always one of the first. So how is it that you've sort of put together a team that manages to be on top of that all the time?
Right. Well, there's a so it's really simple. As you know, it moved from me as the only content creator into other individuals and growing that team. It was really important to grab the smartest people in the room, the smartest people in the room. And I know a lot about media coverage. I know a lot about navigating dicey situations, and I'm a pretty good writer. But I don't know everybody in CrossFit. So we brought in the people that knew the sport, that had the history, that had connections. And I had to work on getting connections now as the sport has grown and expanded, knowing who at CrossFit to talk to or who at a sanctional organizer to talk to, and which athletes, and developing those relationships takes a lot of time. And I'm not completely there. I know a lot of people at the top, throughout the top of the leaderboard, but Tommy knows so many of them, and so many of them know Tommy. They feel comfortable with him, and so many of them know Nikki and Chad and other guys that are on the team. And we have these in various capacities, and none of them are full time, but they're all a part of our team. They're the smart. We collectively house the smartest people in the sport of CrossFit.
Yeah,
we do. We have more connections, and we have years of reporting experience in this sport, both internally and externally. Former journal writers, CrossFit media, contractors with CrossFit, etc. Like we have that. So why we're able to be first is because we have a team of individuals who know everybody, and relationships are the number one way that you're gonna know first. And we oftentimes know sometimes a lot, but more often than not, we know before it comes out. Yeah. But we're also kind of equity partners in information with the people who want to break it. And so in a traditional news media environment, and you've got a hard source and you've got double confirmation, you go with it, right? Because you're in a competition with other news organizations to produce credible, relevant, and timely news. We're like, Rich, like if you can make the announcement, we know ahead of time, obviously, but we want to be prepared to write something that is really good and really strong on that. So it's like Rich is posting, and it's like 17 seconds later, we're posting. So it's more of a hey, would you let us know in the agreement that we won't publish it yet? And so that's also a way that we are able to work ahead and faster, because we're like, hey, we know, tell us the details. Let's talk a little bit, and then we'll write a story. And when you're done publishing, so you can go first, we'll go. Yeah. And then we'll add some context. We'll add some contextualization, which we're really good at because we have those smart people in the room that can say, oh, remember this, and oh, remember those things, or remember those 3 other things too. And we're like, yeah, all right, like let's pull some stats together and let's contextualize that a little bit more. So that announcement's going to offer one viewpoint there, and then we're going to contextualize it a lot more in AgogeTV. So even if we're second, not just to an athlete or second to a news organization, generally speaking, we're going to have more. We're going to contain a little bit more meat. And we may have been able to connect some other parts to the story. Just depends on what it is. So that's how we try and work behind the scenes, and just be able to say, okay, look, we want to tee this up for tomorrow morning when people are waking up, and work with us. We won't break the news. We'll respect that embargo, and then we'll kind of we'll have a little bit more time to think about it and think critically about it, and see if there's anything else we need to tell about it. So it's kind of how we do it.
That is super impressive, when obviously we take it back to the fact that you started from a newsletter that was an email newsletter pretty much.
Yeah, it was. It was just a daily Monday. It was actually 7 days a week, 7-day week newsletter, and I wrote the whole thing myself.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I signed up to it way back when, a long time ago. But yeah, like when I very first started CrossFit, I used to like get to work and open my morning joke up. It's that's how long, and that's how old I am basically. I'm not like,
I love it.
But yeah, I like I say, I remember that seeing that, and then obviously it's grown with social media as well, I think. But like I say super impressive when we look back at where Morning Chalk Up started, and like I say, now you kind of own the space as such for news in CrossFit. I think, like I said,
you're definitely the go-to source.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. Yeah, you know, it was really cool, and I have to do a big shout out to like the team members for like, if you look at last week, difficult week obviously, but their coverage was on point, you know, and they were moving quick and they were on it. But you know, and I teed up an email with some of our premium members for it's going out today, and it's gonna. We were cited and sourced in the New York Times, Vox Media, USA Today, CNN, South China Morning Post, like citing our work. And so when you think about, I mean, we're in this small little niche industry of CrossFit, and you're like, okay, that's super cool. And yes, we're at the top of CrossFit's kind of news environment, but like this story broke out of CrossFit. This became national, literally in the United States, it became national news. Yeah. And so, you know, it is something that is being talked about at mainstream publications. And they're like, whoa, how do I make sense of all of this? And they're like, citing Morning Chalk Up's reporting, citing Morning Chalk Up's work or statistics because we were credible enough that they felt comfortable to use that kind. And yeah, people are like, whoa, you're in mainstream publications. It's kind of silly. We don't like mainstream media. It's like, that's totally fine. But mainstream media have been doing news reporting for decades. And whether you like them or not, they are professional and they know what they're doing. So they, generally speaking, don't stab themselves in the leg if they don't have to. So they don't cite statistics that they know are patently false. So they trusted us enough to use as this source material, which, as a point of pride, it does fill me with a lot of pride, because you're like, team, look what you guys did. We're in the middle of a crisis. Other people outside of this are covering it, and they're using your material. That's freaking awesome. That means you're doing a good job, and that means that other voices are taking that seriously enough to cite it. That in and of itself, that should be a huge win. You should be proud of the effort that you put.
It's even cooler that you're a team as well. Like what you've just said, like you've got all these like members of a team that bring so much together, and like look what you've all achieved already. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's impressive. It's cool.
Yeah, there's 10, 12 freelancers to an extent, you know, that handle different various components, and some chip into other things. Some wrote that don't usually write. Some did more research that don't usually do research and stuff. And I mean, I couldn't ask for better.
Yeah.
Seriously.
No, like I say, it's been awesome. And I think, we were originally due to speak to you as kind of all this broke. and we're like,
it was like that week. And I was like, okay.
I was like, bro, you're probably a bit busy today. So we'll leave you to it. But again, like just coming back to your team as well, like I know obviously of a lot of them, obviously Armin and Tommy being probably the main ones, and like neither of them really started in news and media. You know what I mean? That they like, I want to say that like Tommy was had a background in psychology. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
he did study that in college, and then he owned an affiliate. With his brother, I believe, shortly before going to CrossFit HQ full time. But yeah, no, he's not. He wasn't like we would say classically trained in media or did work for a media organization. But Nikki Brazier did. Nikki came from a reporter over on the East Coast, and she was a field reporter. So she has a little bit. Patrick Clark worked for ESPN back in the day when he was just out of college. And so like he's been in a newsroom, he's been in a sports coverage newsroom, so he has got a little bit of experience. I kind of do, but I was on the other side. I was like fielding questions instead of asking the questions. So there's a little bit of traditional news experience, but not a lot, to be fair.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's like, do you go about like training them up as they come on, or are they just sort of like, do you just find that these people are sort of talented towards it?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things like procedurally, like, so we'll talk about things. We have editorial meetings where we do story pitches and talk about them and be like, no, that's not quite strong enough, or we need to ask deeper questions, or how broad are the source materials on that? And so we do a lot of that stuff, and by osmosis and by like doing that stuff on the job, like, can you write well? Do you know about the subject? Like those two things are paramount to being a reporter for at least for this. Like, do you write well, and do you know the subject? Like, we can't be teaching you the sport and why touch and go or or singles or other things like that. You have to have been immersed at least enough in it to be able to talk about it with authority, because it can't send you out to do an interview with an athlete and you have no idea what you're talking about, because you're not going to be able to ask them questions that are credible. What was your strategy there? I mean, that's fine. That's a nice introductory question. But if you want to get deeper than that, and we don't want to just be the obvious, then you're going to need to know a little bit more. So what we do try and do is we're always coaching in coaching by working on story creation and working on source material and working on writing components. And so, I regularly send around like other things that have been written, either other sports stories or other news stories. It doesn't really matter. And be like, look at that. That's a really strong line. Like, look at that key takeaway. And so we try and ingrain that into each writer by everybody being on the same Slack channels and talking about these things and being on editorial calls, so that they can have an understanding, like, hey, the direction set at the top, like if they're not getting feedback and direction on story creation and writing, then like everything's going to look a lot different and everything's going to be kind of disparate and disjointed. I want everybody to kick ass, like all of them, all 10 of them, to be like total axe throwers, and they know what's up and they're precise and they're crisp. And so you got to just like work on that over time. And so like anybody who wants to come and write, like simple thing, writing examination, it's just like, show me what you got. And then from there, if you're up, we'll refine it into our system and learn it and move into it and stuff. So no, they didn't all come from writing backgrounds or reporting backgrounds, but they know how to write and they know the subject and they have a passion for it. And that's the third thing. They just freaking love CrossFit. Like, we just geek out on CrossFit all day long. Like, our Slack channels, like stats and like histories and like, remember way back when this was happening, and we're just talking and we're loving it up. Like, we are just uniquely, just extremely passionate about the sport and about this community too. And we're like committed to that. And so that's where, if you put those three things together, you're going to have a team of very strong individuals who could do what you want.
Amazing. I love it. Brilliant answer. I'm pretty conscious of your time, so I want to move on to a couple of like bit simpler questions.
Sure.
And they're just really straight up questions. Like, example being, if you've got a book or a book recommendation or a film recommendation that everybody should like to watch. So book or film recommendation, go for it.
Okay, book Anna Karenina, written by Leo Tolstoy, 19th century Russian author. Fantastic, super long, super dense. You'll probably never finish it, but if you do, you'll love it.
Yeah. I feel like that was the intellect's choice for sure.
Yeah. I'm trying to do this without thinking about it. A film, The Thin Red Line, phenomenal, Oscar-nominated cast of a war film in World War II, I think somewhere around in the South Pacific. Very different style of war film, very introspective and pretty good. I always liked it.
Excellent. Check that out.
Sorry, Justin, what was that book called?
Anna Karenina, Karenina.
You're never going to read that, bro.
I'm going to look into it, though. There's no cliff notes, though. Sorry. So, but, hey, it's a phenomenal book. It's thick. It's not too thick, but it'll take you some time. It'll take you a month or two minimum.
Me and Josh have both finished books out of pure stubbornness in the past, so we'll be sound. You've got like a pretty awesome job, I would say. I think you have anyway. But if you could choose like one other career that you would love to have a go at, what would it be?
Oh man,
you haven't already as well. It's got to be.
Yeah, it's kind of a cop out because like I'm an inventive guy by nature, but I love to be an inventor. I wish that I had like I did all this stuff behind me and did a lot of things inside of my condo here. But if I could and I had the technical, and I don't like it all. Yeah. I have the mind for it, but I have no technical expertise. I love to be an inventor. I think it's just so cool. Like I think of Elon Musk as an inventor. Like he's an innovator, but he's also kind of an inventor too. And I think I was like, maybe that's your modern day inventor. And I'd be like, if I had an unlimited pool of money, but like a driving passion to change something, I think it'd be super cool because I love to immerse myself into like impossible sized projects, just like, kind of not quite Morning Chocolate Best, but there were a lot of people who were like, there's no way you're ever going to have whatever readership.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I can. And we probably will, as long as we stay the course. But like, I'd love to invent, dude. It's just cool to create things and solve problems through creations. They don't have to be big; they can be small. But I think it's super cool.
I want to be Iron Man as well. So
that would be pretty awesome. No, you're right. You're better. I think that's way cool.
Yeah, awesome. And okay, so last question on this one, and then basically, so if you could learn from one person, so example, like if you could sit down with like Elon Musk, for example, and you can use him if you want, but if you could sit down and just learn everything you could from one person, you got 24 hours in somebody's presence, who would it be?
Man, I'm going to tell you what my first one immediate reaction is George Washington.
Okay.
Right.
And I'm history, I'm political, so first president of the United States. For those, I don't know if there's anybody who doesn't know who George Washington is, but first president of the United States, thinker, philosopher, and general. So I would probably ask him just because of such a dynamic time in our own world's history, as well as America's history more specifically. And I think it would be a fascinating conversation from somebody who is widely more intellectual than I am. But my second one was George Bush, to be honest. And the reason why is because I went to college and finished up during George Bush's presidency, and then I started in the United States House of Representatives at the end of his presidency. I am a Republican, and I was like, it'd be really, really, really cool is like talking to this guy. And it's a bit of because of my time of study and when I was coming into politics for the first time, and he was at the end of a very tumultuous presidency. And I've always thought he was a very fascinating guy, and he's a very nice guy. And I was like, it'd be really cool to like sit down and have coffee.
Yeah.
With friends.
Definitely.
I like it. So last questions. These are super quick fire. These are the important CrossFit questions of our age, basically. So first one, snatch or clean and jerk?
Clean and jerk.
Running or rowing?
Running.
Air bike or C2 bike?
Ooh. C2 bike because it hurts more.
Okay. Sadistic, but I like it.
Good answer.
Front squat or back squat?
Back squat.
Cookies or donuts?
Donuts.
It's like a stupid question.
Yeah.
Froning or Fraser?
That was this one.
You're not asking you who's best, just who you like.
Fraser. I've spent a lot more time with Fraser as well.
Cool. Awesome. And last one would be CrossFit Games gold medal or $1 million. $1 million.
$1 million.
$1 million. Nice.
Okay.
We always that one always causes a bit of controversy because there's two really like separate camps on that.
Hey,
one.
For some athletes, winning the CrossFit Games actually does equate to a win bonus that could extend your $350,000 into $1 million. So
Nice.
That's a little bit fair question. Depends on who you're asking. If you're asking somebody who can actually get it,
Yeah.
it might be the gold. You got like guys like me who are like $1 million. Sure.
I don't want to do Fran that fast. It hurts.
No, but you could get the gold medal and then write an awesome article about it, which would go global. So
you'd have to go pretty global.
Awesome. Like I say, Justin, super conscious of your time. I know you're a busy man.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us today. First of all, before we let you go, obviously Morning Chalk Up is the first point of call for people to find you, but if anybody else wants to find you, how do they get in touch? And
if you want to find me personally and look at a bunch of climbing photos and not CrossFit, you can get me on Instagram, and I'm ChalkUpJLo. And otherwise, we're on Instagram at Morning Chalk Up, morningchalkup.com. You got a newsletter, you can subscribe. You'll get everything you need to know, or I probably ever wanted to know about CrossFit, that you can enjoy with your morning coffee. So
agreed. Awesome. Again, Justin, thank you very much for joining us. Obviously,
thanks for having me on.
Yeah, but super entertaining. Loved it, and there's definitely loads more questions I'd love to ask you. So maybe we can get another podcast on the go at some point. Again, thank you everyone for listening today. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes if you enjoyed the podcast, and usual stuff, guys. Just like I say, the more you like and share, the more we get our podcast out there, and the more we can get awesome people like Justin on. Thanks very much, guys. Peace.
Yeah, thank you.